I am the interviewer, Anita Bowser. Today is December 17th, 2024. And would you tell me your name?
Sure. My name's Tiffany Harkleroad.
And Tiffany, how long have you lived in this community?
Since 2017. So 7 years, almost 8.
Great. What are some of your earliest memories of the library?
Of this library, my first encounter with the Butler Area Public Library was back in about 2014, I believe. I was actually working at a library in Armstrong County and was invited to partake in a large training that they had here about a new nationwide campaign that was rolling out. So that was the first time I'd ever been in the building and gotten to meet any of the people that worked not only in this library but the other libraries in Butler County.
What sort of things do you do in your current role at the library?
So I'm the Youth Services Manager currently, which means I'm responsible for overseeing services, collections, programs, and all things youth related from birth to high school graduation.
And how has your department changed since you've been here?
Whew. Since I've been here, the library's been through a lot. Not terribly long after I took over the role of youth services in early 2017, early 2018, late 2017-ish, we were hit by a countywide ransomware attack. So that required us to change a little bit of our service delivery temporarily while we worked to restore our catalog and restore our online services to all of our patrons. And then, of course, in 2020, we started dealing with COVID. And I think that is when we saw the most change in the children's department. We had to do away with in-person programming, which was a large portion of what I did on a regular basis for about 2 years because the children were so vulnerable. We didn't want to put anybody at risk. And that meant I had to very quickly pivot to providing programming in another way. I very quickly started doing virtual story times and other virtual programming, and I probably ended up making about 200, maybe more, maybe less, videos of various different online programs, as well as some like digital online programs that could be accessed at any time. And that was a big change. That was a huge change that we went through. And then going out of that and going back into in-person programming was also a really big change because in those 2 years, the needs of our families changed quite a bit. So our models needed to change in order to meet their needs better. The types of programming, how much interaction we have in the programming, whether it is more or less structured, all of that has gone through constant changes as the needs of our community have changed.
So what are some of your fondest memories as an employee?
There's a lot. I was scared to take over youth services. When I first got hired at the library, I did teen services part-time and reference services part-time. Teens were kind of the age group that I felt the most comfortable with. But when the entire youth services position became available, I decided to give it a try, but I was really worried because I don't have children of my own. I don't have tons of experience with very small children, and it had been a number of years since any of the people in my life were very small children. So I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to connect very well with the younger kids. For about the first year, I sort of maintained the same structure that they were used to from the previous children's librarian. But then slowly, as I got more confident, I started changing what songs we did at story time or how story time was structured. And I remember the first time I realized that a child had learned something because of something I had done in story time, because I started using a story time hello song that used sign language. And at the beginning of the 6-week storytime session, these kids didn't know the signs, but the first time I could kind of see the light bulb moment click that they had learned the signs because of something I had done. That was a really incredible feeling, seeing like the direct impact that I was able to make. So that's a really, really good memory.
It's amazing. And what are some of the most striking changes to libraries overall over the years?
I would say that still the largest change is the role of the library within a community. When I was growing up, because I'm not from Butler originally, when I was growing up, the library was more a place you went to fulfill a specific service. It was, you went there with a very specific goal in mind, whether it was to look for a specific book or just to check out books in general or to access online services or whatever. And then you left. It wasn't sort of it was very utilitarian in nature. And ever since I've been working in libraries, the function of the library as a whole concept has become much more community centered. It's a community space where you can come without having any kind of direct purpose or specific goal in mind. It's one of the few places in society that you're allowed to just come to and exist, and to do so at no cost. And because of that, the library continues to fulfill needs that aren't really easily addressed anywhere else in the community or in society. Things like being a location where unhoused people can come to have a safe place to stay during the day to keep warm, or to have a place where people can come to charge their electronic devices, to have a place where people can just come and stay all day and read a book. You don't find a lot of those types of spaces in society, and it has really changed the overall image of the library. It's not this cold, sterile repository of books any longer. It is a vibrant, living place, and that's been exciting to see that change. You can always tell if somebody's a library user or not based on the perception that they have of libraries, because if they have that perception still of their old childhood librarian with the super tight bun telling them to be quiet very harshly, chances are they probably haven't been to a library in a while, because we're not like that anymore.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I mean, I could probably go on all day, so I don't want to make this too long, but I remember before I had come to this community, just driving through this community and saying, boy, this would be a really nice place to live someday. And I almost feel like it was like I spoke it into existence, because at the time that I applied for a position here, I was not actively looking for a new position. And when I pitched the idea to my husband, like, well, maybe we should move to Butler, he was like, oh, I was thinking the same thing too, which was not what I expected him to say. And it's been pretty magical ever since those things fell into place. That's not to say that there haven't been difficult times. There certainly have been, as I mentioned with the ransomware and the COVID, but it feels like it's been a pretty charmed existence here at the Butler Library, and I'm really fortunate in that way.
We're fortunate to have you.
Thanks.
Thank you.